Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with our discussion on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, text 34 onwards. So in the previous verse, Krishna explained that, O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So knowledge is so important that whatever activity we do, we should perform it in knowledge. So even the sacrifice for purification is better performed in knowledge. So now this verse, it is one of the very famous verses of Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya dekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth. Truth means about the sacrifice. Means get the knowledge for the sacrifice by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So one has to approach a spiritual master. Even in the beginning of this chapter, Krishna himself told Arjuna that I had given this knowledge to Sun God gave it to Manu gave it to Ikshvaku, and this is how the knowledge has been transmitting in the human society. And again, now he is saying to get the knowledge, one has to approach a spiritual master. And how to approach? Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. So, three things are important: submission, service, and then inquiry. So, from a spiritual master, the self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So, the spiritual master who should be what? Whom? First of all, it should come in the parampara. And then, secondly, he should have seen the truth. He should be self-realized soul. He cannot be just anybody or everybody we find on the street, or anybody wearing a robe or having long beard or something like that. That can be a spiritual master. No, he is not seen by the outward dress. It's not that anybody who's wearing a robe can be spiritual master, but he should have the realizations. He should have the knowledge, and that's how he gives the knowledge. So in the purport, Prabhupada gives nice purport about the spiritual master. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. So there are many qualifications of spiritual master Prabhupada has, and of a disciple also Prabhupada has clarified in this purport. So many things are like one spiritual master should come in the line of disciplic succession, and he should give out the knowledge as it is to his disciples, whatever he has learned from his spiritual master. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as it is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. So we don't make up our own process. We don't make up our own parampara. Parampara means we learn from a spiritual master and then we pass the knowledge down. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. So knowledge is not received just by reading scriptures. Knowledge is received by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. And then when he says, read the scriptures, and then we read the scriptures, and then we can inquire from him submissively to understand the scriptures better. That's how we get the knowledge from the scriptures. And also we don't make up our own path. Like there are so many so-called spiritual gurus these days. They all have made their own paths and they expect people to follow them. So one thing I don't understand is how do they expect people to follow them and they are not following anybody else. But they are so good at word jugglery and people are also not looking for the right thing. They are looking for just imitation guru. So this is what Krishna gives them. This is the desire and this is what they get. And such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Like every morning we sing, no? Yasya prasada bhagavad prasada. If the spiritual master is pleased, Krishna will be pleased. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. So they both have to, there's submission and service. And then the inquiries. And Prabhupada does right in this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So blind following is not at all prescribed, and so is absurd inquiries. Means inquiries should be intelligent inquiries. At least when we are going to see a spiritual master, when we are approaching a spiritual master, we should not be worried or inquire and ask for the mundane things, or just to show off our knowledge or our position. We should not be inquiring like that. It should be sincere, genuine inquiry about how I can make progress in spiritual life. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards a disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries become perfect. Just like there was an incident when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was performing the Brajmandal Parikrama during Kartik and he was leading a group of devotees. Srila Prabhupada was one. And there was a place, Sheshashai in Braj. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was giving lecture, so many of his disciples went around to take darshan of different deities. But Prabhupada sat there listening to his Guru Maharaj. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he noticed that. And he did say that about Prabhupada, who was Abhay Charan at that time. He wasn't even initiated, I think. He wasn't initiated that time. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said that because he hears nicely, he will speak nicely. And he did not like his other disciples, although they were sannyasis there too. He did not like them that when the Guru is speaking, they should go around and take darshan of different deities. And he did say, until you hear it right, you cannot see it right. Means until we hear the philosophy properly, we cannot even see the deities properly. So hearing is very important, and that has to be done from a bona fide spiritual master. So then one can make progress very fast, very, very fast actually. So that all the sacrifice and yoga and whatever Krishna spoke before, for that one has to approach a spiritual master to get the proper knowledge. Text 35. So after knowing that process of yoga and process of sacrifice, what will happen? Yaj gyatva na punarmoham evam yashasi pandava yena bhutani asheshani rakshasi atmani atho mayi. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. So because of our ignorance, we fall into illusion, thinking every living being is different, because we start identifying them with the body. Purport. The result of receiving knowledge from a self-realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living beings are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So this word, Prabhupada has used again and again, part and parcel of Krishna. Living beings are part and parcel of Krishna. So we have discussed this. Part and parcel means, part means we have minute qualifications of what Krishna has, and parcel means we have all the qualification but in minute quantity. Means the living being is also a complete whole. It's a complete system in itself, but it's minute as compared to Krishna. It's infinitesimal. The sense of an existence separate from Krishna is called Maya. Some think that we have nothing to do with Krishna, that Krishna is only great historical personality, and that the Absolute is the impersonal Brahman. Factually, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, this impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Krishna. Krishna is the cause of everything. So then Prabhupada explains about Krishna. So for want of knowledge in the absolute science, we are now covered with illusion. And therefore we think that we are separate from Krishna. So this ignorance is what keeps us away, separate from Krishna. And once we get the proper knowledge from a self-realized soul, then Prabhupada said we'll never fall back in this Maya, loop of Maya again. Although we are separated parts of Krishna, we are nevertheless not different from. The bodily difference of the living entities is Maya, or not actual fact. We are all meant to satisfy Krishna, but by Maya alone, Arjun thought that the temporary bodily relationship with his kinsman was more important than his eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. The whole teaching of Gita is targeted towards this end, that a living being as Krishna's eternal servitor cannot be separated from Krishna, and his sense of being and identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. So this Maya is because of our ignorance. And once that ignorance is removed, then we are in perfect position. When, however, such deluded living entities become situated in Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that they are on the path of liberation, as confirmed in Bhagavatam. Liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Krishna. So this is liberation, according to Srila Rupa Goswami. He has explained in Nectar Devotion. Liberation means to be established in a constitutional position. That's it. When we are serving Krishna, means we are in the moksha, liberated stage already. Muktir hitva anitha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. So that is liberation. Of course, a devotee, for a bhakti yogi, they go beyond this sense of liberation because they want to attain Krishna prema. They want to attain the proper service of Krishna in his spiritual world, in his planet Golok Dham. They want to be established in the loving service of Krishna, not just liberation. So for them, liberation doesn't mean anything if they cannot attain Krishna's service with love and devotion. Text 36. Api chetsi papebhya sarvebhya papkritamaha sarvam jnana plveneva vrijinam santirishyasi. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. So Krishna is saying, even if you are most sinful of all sinners, even you cannot go lower than this. But still, if you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, still if you get knowledge somehow, you can cross over this ocean of material miseries. So proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relationship to Krishna is so nice that it can at once lift one from the struggle for existence, which goes on in the ocean of nescience. This material world is sometimes regarded as an ocean of nescience and sometimes as a blazing forest. In the ocean, however expert a swimmer one may be, the struggle for existence is very severe. If someone comes forward and lifts a struggling swimmer from the ocean, he is the greatest savior. So perfect knowledge received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a path of liberation. The boat of Krishna consciousness is very simple, but at the same time the most sublime. Means it's the most effective spiritually. So here our position in the material world is compared to a swimmer in an ocean. So in an ocean, however expert the swimmer may be, it's very difficult for him to cross the ocean on his own. But if somebody comes on a boat and helps that person or lifts him up from the boat, then he can easily cross over. So this boat of transcendental knowledge is the one that takes us across this ocean of birth and death. So this knowledge is very, very important. But the knowledge itself, without presence of Krishna, is no good. Without us understanding that I'm a servant of Krishna is of no value. So real knowledge is when it takes us towards Krishna, towards Krishna's service. That is the real knowledge. Text 37. Yathadhansi samiddho agnir bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjun, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. This, in fact, Rupa Goswami talks about in Nectar of Devotion also. See, he says, the reason of our being in the material world is because of sinful activity. And the reason for sinful activity is ignorance. And because of ignorance, we commit more sinful activity. Because of more sinful activity, we fall down more in ignorance. And the loop goes on and on and on. How to stop that loop is when somebody gets some knowledge. So perfect knowledge of self and super self and of their relationship is compared here into fire. This fire not only burns up reactions to impious activities, but also all reactions to pious activities, turning them to ashes. So even the reactions to pious activities also burn to ashes. What does that mean? Because for any reaction, whether it is to pious, impious, or a combination thereof, will lead to for us to take birth again in the material world. To get the reaction to pious activity, we again have to take birth and be very well situated in our life. And to get reaction to impious activity, obviously we have to take birth and get punished. So both the reactions are completely burnt to ashes, because in this fire, in this fire of transcendental knowledge, the whole idea is to take us out of here, take us back to God. There are many stages of reaction: reaction in the making, reaction fructifying, reaction already achieved, and reaction a priori. Means reaction in the making is kuta, reaction fructifying bija, bija kuta, and then prarabdha and aprarabdha. But knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ashes. When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both a priori and a posteriori, are consumed. So this is the beauty of being situated in proper knowledge. But that knowledge is with Krishna in the center. So again, it is very important to have Krishna in the center, not the knowledge without Krishna. Then that knowledge, and not just knowledge, I mean, after knowing our eternal position, we will serve Krishna. That's the whole idea, to serve Him. And when we serve Him, then obviously all the reactions are burnt to ashes, because we are on the path of Bhakti Yoga. Text 38. Nahi jnanen sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddha kalenatmani vindati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is a mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. It means bhakti, like in Bhagavatam also we studied, no? Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Samyogita Janati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yat Ahat. So by bhakti, very soon, Janati Ashu means very soon, this Jnana and Vairagya will develop in our heart. So, but that doesn't mean we don't study the scriptures. We wait for the Jnana and Vairagya to appear in our heart. It doesn't mean that, because study of scriptures is what is one of the 9 processes of bhakti, which is Shravanam. So when we are studying the scriptures with the mood of bhakti, with the mood of satisfying the Lord, satisfying our spiritual master, and to get to know more so we can preach better. So this is all part of bhakti. This knowledge, this study is part of bhakti. And because of bhakti, we get the realization. So we get the proper understanding of scriptures. When we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is a cause of our bondage, and the knowledge is a cause of our liberation. This knowledge is the mature fruit of devotion service, and when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. That's the last word in the Bhagavad Gita. So this knowledge is very important, and because of this knowledge, a person attains peace, peaceful state. It is explained next verse. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatpara sayatendriyam jnanam labdva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So having attained that knowledge, he quickly attains supreme spiritual peace. So why is that person at peace? when he has knowledge. Means he has knowledge of that if something is going wrong in my life, it's because of my past bad karmas. It's of nothing else. But not my past bad karmas. And the knowledge, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Suddharlabha, that Krishna is all in all. Krishna will take care of me. Krishna is my only shelter. So for that person, what is there that can disturb him? Nothing. First, he understands it's by my doing I'm suffering. And then he understands Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is my best friend. Nothing can happen without Krishna's approval. So, what can go wrong in that kind of person's life? Nothing. Nothing can disturb him. And this is what Krishna is saying. He quickly attains a supreme spiritual peace. Why we don't have peace in the world these days? Why we don't have peace in our lives? Because we don't have faith. Shraddhavan labhate jnana. Here Krishna says, Shraddha. So Shraddha, faith is very important. Only a faithful man, he achieves transcendental knowledge. And he achieves supreme peace. Otherwise, no. So we can see we can gauge our progress in bhakti by understanding how peaceful we are, having full faith in Krishna. A man in ignorance, complete ignorance, he is also peaceful. He can be happy, also very happy, but he is in ignorance. But this peace and this happiness that we are trying to achieve is through transcendental knowledge. This is important. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. Shraddha Shabda Vishwas ke Sudhra Nishya, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Kritva. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita speaking. In Shraddha Shabda Vishwas ka Sudhra Nishya, one who is Shraddha, who has full understanding, he will have full determination also, resolution. What? Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Kritva. Only by doing devotion service to Krishna, everything else will be attained. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. So who controls the senses also? Yes, that is also very important. The one who has knowledge, it will be easier for him to control the senses. And those who don't have faith in Krishna, those who don't have faith in the process, what happens to them? Agyascha ashadadhanascha sanchayatma vinashati nayam lokvasti na paro na sukham sanchayatmana. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So those who doubt this word of Krishna and the words of revealed scriptures, they do not attain God consciousness. Not attain, they don't even make any progress. And that's when they fall down. Fall down means they can fall down in the lower species of life. And Krishna is saying for the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. They can never be happy. Out of many standard and authoritative revealed scriptures, Bhagavad Gita is the best. Persons who are almost like animals have no faith in or knowledge of the standard revealed scriptures. And some, even though they have knowledge of or can cite passages from the revealed scriptures, have actually no faith in these words. So faith is very much required. we have a certain curiosity by which we come in the association of devotees and we take up this process of bhajan kriya. But that bhajan kriya and the association of devotees, it should take us to the state of nishtha, fixed, complete, determined faith. Nishtha is very important to make progress further. Otherwise, we cannot make progress. And even though others may have faith in scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, they do not believe in or worship the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna. Such persons cannot have any standing in Krishna consciousness. They fall down. Out of all the above mentioned persons, those who have no faith and are always doubtful make no progress at all. So this is the thing. If one doesn't have faith, he does not make progress at all. In fact, he can fall down by abusing or by saying wrong things about the devotees or Krishna himself. For them, there is no happiness whatsoever. So the faith has to be very much required. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna sanshayam atmontam na karmani nirdananti dhanjaya. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work, or conqueror of riches. See, this whole idea behind all these teachings is to make Arjuna fight, but in the full knowledge. Yeah. So Krishna basically is telling him, one who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, means fight, but give up the fruits of your actions. And without any doubt. Like in the chapter 18 also, Krishna says, now give up your doubt and stand up and fight. And then the without any doubt is situated factually in the self. Thus is not bound by the reactions of work. So one who is acting in full faith and fully for the pleasure of Krishna, he is not bound by the reactions of work, because knowledge, like previous verses, Krishna says, by knowledge, all the reactions to the work are burnt to ashes. One who follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita as it is imparted by the Lord, personality of Godhead himself, becomes free from all doubts by the grace of transcendental knowledge. He is a part and parcel of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, is already established in self-knowledge. As such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action. Last verse for today, and here we end the chapter also. Tasmad jnana sambhutam ritastham jnana sinatmanam chitvanam sanchayam yogam attishtu uttishtu bharatam. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharat, stand and fight. So whole idea of every instruction is to make Arjuna get up and fight. So all his doubts, Arjuna's doubts, although they sounded very nice, compassion and sinful activity and no happiness and destruction of family and confusion, they sounded very nice. But Krishna is saying they're only because of ignorance. Ignorance of you, ignorance of me, ignorance of your position, my position, and the relationship between us. Because you are ignorant about all this, that's why you are having these doubts. The yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatana Yoga, eternal activities performed by the living entity. This yoga has two divisions of sacrificial actions. One is called sacrifice of one's material possessions, and the other is called knowledge of the self, which is pure spiritual activity. If sacrifice of one's material possessions is not dovetailed for spiritual realization, then such sacrifice becomes material. So if that sacrifice does not take one on the path of spiritual realization, that sacrifice is completely material. But one who performs such sacrifices with a spiritual objective or in devotion service makes a perfect sacrifice. When we come to spiritual activities, we find that these are divided into two, namely understanding of one's own self, which is Gyan, and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of God. One who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For him, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of the Lord. So the knowledge takes us to this point that we are part and parcel of the Lord, and my duty is to serve the Lord. And such understanding is beneficial, for such a person can easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. In the beginning of this chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. One who does not understand the instructions of the Gita is faithless and is to be considered to be misusing the fragmental independence accorded to him by the Lord. So again, Prabhupada gives very nice, very long purport. And basically, he is summarizing the whole chapter in this verse. It says in the end, one should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the Supreme Person and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of Gita. So here the fourth chapter ends. So we'll start fifth chapter next weekend. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, chapter 2, 3 and 4 is also ended now. I think share with us the questions the way we did first, chapter 1.
Okay. Okay, I'll try to send it tomorrow.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So we'll see how much we have assimilated then.
It'll be good to find out.
Yeah. Pure transcendental knowledge, Prabhuji. And thank you so much for taking us through this knowledge.
It's wonderful knowledge that Krishna is giving. And we are trying to study because of Prabhupada's mercy. Otherwise, we won't be able to understand anything in these books.
No doubt about it, Prabhuji. The way purports have been written and the way you explain is actually making all the difference.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to serve. Chalo, then if there is no questions, Subbu Prabhu, would you like to say something? Please comment.
No, Prabhuji, no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. So thank you all very much. You enjoy your Sunday. I believe it is Ekadashi over there today.
Tomorrow, Prabhuji, 9th.
Oh, it's tomorrow? Okay. Okay. So Monday we'll have Ekadashi. So you all have a wonderful day, Sunday. Enjoy your day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.